Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content, Lord of the Rings home. Glyphs. We have news on Glyphs, the next system getting added to Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth. It is the next progression system. They look awesome. Visually, they look awesome. We're going to go through the kind of announcement post here, but I am part of a developer Q&A that they are doing on Tuesday, where we go in and we ask, me and some other people are going to go in, ask the developers questions about the mechanics of glyphs. So if you come to my Discord, I've set up a forum post and you can ask your questions, and then the highest ranked questions will be things that I want to ask the developers. So hop in the Discord, post your questions there. There's some rules, make sure you read those. And yeah, we can figure out all of the nitty-gritty details and get your questions answered on Tuesday. With that, let's get into it. I really like the look of these. I mean, look at this. This looks incredible. This looks great. Greetings, Ring Bearers. Soon we will be introducing a new feature to the Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth, Glyphs. Glyphs introduce a new method to augment and tweak your characters and squads. They give you the ability to adjust individual attributes to play to strengths in synergy and stats, and customize a team to fit your strategy. By using glyphs, each player will be able to differentiate their characters the way they want, making them unique and tailored to what that player's strategies are and playstyle. I really like this. This is kind of like a combination of mods and relics from Swigo, is the way it just sort of looks to me, right? Glyphs are items that grant powerful stats and passive effects, allowing customization of units on the battlefield. Players can imbue glyphs into a character's unique relic. Relics are personal, meaningful objects worthy of imbuement, defined per character. Gimli's axe right there. Each relic has 6 slots for glyphs, each having a unique shape that corresponds to a glyph shape. So it's basically like the 6 slots for mods in Swigo, but it's also, they've got the relic aspect to it because I guess you're imbuing it on the weapon. I like that. I mean, they look great. So this is like a upgraded one, tier 2 one. This is just the regular tier 1 one. And they've got some, looks like Elvish text on here. Okay, glyph sets. Oh, this is a cool animation. Let's take a second to appreciate that. I think that's what, Arwen's sword. Oh man, that looks cool. And you can see the levels here. Some of them look like they're upgraded. Some of them aren't. Interesting. Okay. Each glyph is part of a set that grants powerful bonuses. Glyphs of all 6 shapes can be found for each set. From a high level, there are 2 categories of sets. Major, inscribed with Tengwar script, it's kind of the Elvish script, requires 4 equipped glyphs to activate. Minor, inscribed with Cirth script, I don't know if it's Cirth or Kurth, requires 2 equipped glyphs to activate. So you can have, yeah, 1 major and 1 minor set, or 3 minor sets. Set bonus, okay, we'll read that. When activated, glyph sets grant a unique set bonus. Set bonuses for major sets are significantly more powerful than set bonuses granted by minor sets. Players will also be able to see what set bonuses are being provided to each character in battle. At most, a single character can only be equipped with 1 major set and 1 minor set, or 3 minor sets. And then, yeah, the set bonuses for minor sets do stack. Great. So these are the initial glyph sets. Some of the bonuses are subject to change. So the major sets are supposed to really be, blow the minor sets out of the water. We've heard about some of these. Lembas. Each encounter recover 1 stamina in a random ability at the start of the encounter, and the first time each ability is used. So this is not every turn, just when an ability, just start of the encounter and the first time each ability is used. So I can see why this is powerful, because it essentially moves up abilities that have longer cooldowns and aren't turn 1 abilities, right? So maybe you could use this with Elrond. I'm not so sure. This is not super, super powerful. It's not like blowing away powerful. That's interesting. I have to think about that more. Last Stand. Each encounter, the first time this character falls below 25% health, gain 100% turn meter, dispel 3 Banes, and gain 1 stamina in a random ability. I really like this one. This is really cool. Yeah, wow. This is an awesome one. This is one I'm going to be using, I think, in a lot of For the raids, I think this seems really, really powerful just across all the raids, right? That's really cool. Yeah, all the chapters of the raid, that'll be a massive, massive set to have. Vitality. Whenever this character is critically hit and has fewer than 3 stacks of regeneration, gain 1 stack of regeneration for 1 turn. So you might want to use this for, let's just say, a healer, or maybe a damage dealer that's more like a glass cannon, just so that they can sort of survive just a little bit longer. Get that, make sure that they get the healer turn. The healer's turn comes around, they aren't killed first. Withering. When this character inflicts a bane on their turn, deal 15% true damage. Limit once per target. Oh, this is gonna be massive. True damage, damage that cannot crit or be blocked and ignores armor and vulnerability. This is going to be huge for shadow squads in the raids. This is going to be really good. So to me, the two that look really good seem to be Last Stand and Withering. I'm sure there are some use cases for Lembas, but I'm just not quite convinced at how good they're going to be at the moment, because the one character I was thinking you could use this on would be like Elrond, but you just have Naramiri, and Naramiri's heal will be able to give this. Well, maybe you could put it on Naramiri. You put it on Naramiri, and then Naramiri's heal, which gives stamina as well, will get cooldown a lot faster. Maybe. I don't know. Minor sets. Bloodlust. Whenever this character defeats an enemy, gain 30% turn meter. Oh, I really like that. So if these can stack, then you can get 90% turn meter with the Bloodlust set. A full 6 Bloodlust glyphs, you can get 90% turn meter. That's interesting. I really like that. Lifestealer, gain 2% lifesteal. That seems like it's going to go probably on characters that already have a lot of lifesteal. Black Beast might be somebody you do this with. Raider, deal 2% more damage against enemies with more than 50% health. I really like this for somebody like Orphim. This might be good because he's already got an attack that does sort of like this, right? With more than 50% health. Yeah, that's an interesting one. It just seems more situational rather than kind of broad, like, this is good sets. But this might be, yeah, I'm not so sure I like this one as much. Shield Wall. When this character has Taunt or Provoke, take 3% less damage. Oh, you just immediately put this on Eladin, right? But actually, if you put... Yeah, I think this would be really good to put on Eladin as well. But maybe you just put on this, you get 9% less damage overall. That's gonna, for one encounter, an arena fight, that's gonna be a lot, because he spends so much time under Taunt and Provoke, right? Armor Piercer, gain 2% armor piercing. That's something you just put on your damage dealers, right? And that'll be useful for the cave trolls, especially. Okay. In addition to set bonuses, glyphs have both a single primary stat and up to 4 secondary stats. Each glyph shape dictates which primary stats are available to it. Primary stats directly add to the stats of the unit, whereas secondary stats are a % increase multiplied after all other bonuses have been added. Okay, that's important. Whereas the secondary stats are a % increase multiplied after all other bonuses have been added. So it's basically the last part of the equation calculating everything. The speed secondary stat is an exception to the rule, and it is a secondary stat whose value is added to as opposed to being multiplied. Potential stats are as follows. Slot 1, health. Slot 2, damage. Slot 3, armor. Okay, slot 4 can be health, damage, armor, or focus. Slot 5, health, damage, armor, or resistance. And slot 6, health, damage, armor, focus, or resistance. Oh my god. So, Rekka, I'm just going to put, yeah, it's just health, damage, armor, health, health, health. And that's an example of doing something like that. For Black Beast, maybe I'll do armor, 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 armor. I'm not so sure, but I know Haradrim are going to just basically slot 4 focus is going to be the big thing, and slot 6 focus is going to be the big thing. I do like this. So slot 1 through 3 you don't have to think about. Slot 4, 5, you kind of have some choices, but each slot after 3, right, you have a little bit more choice of what you want to do there, and they kind of add one each time. I do like that. I think that's interesting. Secondary stats, up to 4 types per glyph. So I'm not sure. One question I immediately have is if, like, you can roll the same secondary stat on like your first stat, let's say, is health percent, and then your second is damage, and then you can do a health percent again, or you just do 2 health percents in a row. Interesting that it's all percent values. That's a departure from Swigo mods, right? Where you have health percent and then you just have like flat health and that sort of thing. I think this is a better option. And you don't have to sit there and be like, okay, well, how much percent, how much flat health do I need, or how much percent health do I need? How can I compare these? This just makes that whole process simpler, really. So health, damage, armor, focus, resistance, crit chance, crit damage. These are going to be big. Block chance is also going to be massive, right? Block mitigation. How much is this? I think it's 30% at the moment, but it looks like you can increase that. So any team that's throwing out defensives all the time, block mitigation might be good to have on there. It basically makes them unkillable. And then speed. The one we're all worried about. A quick note about speed. Our intent with Glyphs is to give players agency over their collections by allowing them to customize their gameplay. Speed is an integral part of that gameplay, and thereby an important piece of the puzzle. Yeah, I say that all the time too. The values of speed secondaries in the system will allow players to change the order of units in combat, but are not so high that it will allow units to lap others on the battlefield. That is different than the plus 90 speed value we got from the Reddit AMA. So either that max value is changed or there's something in there, because I did a calculation that was basically like, I took the fastest character in the game, Orphers, and compared to, I gave him 90 speed, then compared to a large character like Brute, who's already very slow, but then has the Giant's Burden thing on it, and you could lap Brute. So maybe either there's a change in the way that they're calculating turn meter that's different than Swigo, which I didn't think it was, at least early game Swigo, or there's something going on here that they're specifically not telling us. We are well aware of the power that comes with changing speed and are ever cautious with balance implications thereof. We will continue to monitor and adjust as required, so changes may occur in the future regarding the balancing of speed as a stat. I'm glad they're going to keep an eye on it. This does, of course, open the door to, like, if they have to nerf speed in the future, that's going to make certain people who get really lucky with speed glyphs very angry, right? And even if it is for the overall better health of the game, I think a lot of people will be like, well, I had an advantage and I don't want my advantage taken away, right? We'll see. I mean, yeah, you're still probably going to just want, we don't know what the percent values are here, obviously, but you're still probably just going to want one of your secondaries as speed. I think that makes sense. Okay, each glyph, so these are the leveling. Each glyph has a level that dictates the power and visuals of the glyph. The primary stat of a glyph is directly increased with glyph level. Secondary stats are added as the glyph reaches specific levels, but once applied, each stack of a secondary stat will not change. There's a maximum of 4 different secondary stat types per glyph. Maximum of 4. After revealing all of these types, additional rolls will be applied to one of the revealed types. Refer to the following chart for upgrade information. Okay, so you start at 1, it looks like a stone. At 2, you get a stat increase to the primary stat. I mean, that's going to be the case for all of them. You get a secondary stat, still stone. At 3, you get the second secondary stat. 4, you get the third secondary stat. 5, you get the fourth and final secondary stat. At 6, you don't get a secondary stat, but it changes to gilded. I wonder if there are increases here that are, is each increase the same? Or like, let's say you have a health mod, glyph. It's going to take me a while to get used to. Let's say you have a health glyph. If going from 1 to 2 is like a plus 5%, you start 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? Or is it like 5, 15, 17, 20, 23, and then this one is like 30 or whatnot? I'm curious about that. There's nothing going on here except it turns into gilded, which does look cool. 7. Stat increase additional roll. So this is where you start to get those additional rolls on these reveals here. Upgrading glyphs to level 5 only requires gold. Okay, we'll see how much that costs. That is something that worries me. Gold has been largely alleviated, I feel like. You kind of end up using it all at once, especially if you're trying to take a new character like all the way to level 60, gear tier 8, and get their skills up. But my free-to-play account, for instance, has actually a decent amount of gold. For level 6 and above, a new component called spells are required in addition to gold. Spells can be obtained via guild raids, so the Mines of Moria raids. So more raids are going to be important. The supply shop or the store. So how are they adding these in? Is it going to go into the boxes? Is it going to go into personal track? What's going on there? Probably the guild boxes, I would imagine. But they can go to the supply shop so you can buy it for gold, or the store so they can sell it to you, obviously. Okay, well, these actually look pretty cool too. Imagery not final represents a game in development, but they look, I like, maybe little changes, but they look pretty good. I like it. Initially, there are 3 types of spells: enchantment, illusion, sorcery. Various amounts of the above spells will be needed to upgrade your glyphs, with the costs increasing with the level of glyph. Finally, glyphs have a gear tier requirement, they've talked about this before, in order to reach their full potential. This means that if a glyph is level 2, it will require gear tier 2. Level 3 requires gear tier 3, and so on. To get the increase in primary stat, if a character's gear tier is lower than the requirement, that character can still equip it, but the primary stat on the glyph will be clamped to the equivalent of the highest glyph level for which that character satisfies the gear tier requirement. Secondary stats are unaffected by gear tier. Interesting. So what this means, I'll break it down for you. Well, one, it's tied to gear tier here. So to get that last final additional roll, a character has to have gear tier 10. So let's say you have a glyph set of on your gear tier 8 character. Okay? If you take it off and you put it on a gear tier 3 character, the stats from the 8 go back down to the stats to the 3 for the primary stat. But the additional stats, these ones that get revealed, and the additional rolls apparently stay the same. Am I reading that right? Secondary stats are unaffected by gear tier. So what this means is that you need at least one gear tier 10 character, and then you level up all of your glyphs on that character, and then you can take the glyphs off and put it on your other characters without having to take everybody up to gear tier 10. So but you need one gear tier 10 character. So that's good for people who pay and can get to gear tier 9 and gear tier 10 readily, but gear tier 9 is pretty much a stretch for free-to-play players unless they're being very competitive. Gear tier 10 is really a stretch. It's very expensive, but I guess you only need one technically to do it, and then you probably pay a gold cost, right? To take them off or on the character. I guess we'll find out. Finding, managing glyphs. Glyphs can be found in designated normal and hard nodes in the light and shadow campaigns. I really don't like that. Glyphs and spells can also be found as rewards from guild raids. Oh, okay. So they're going to give you glyphs in raids, as well as purchase from the supply shop or the store, and we can purchase them. What I like so far about the system is that, like, there's not... In Swigo, they have, like, these different rarity of mods, basically. And you have to have a certain rarity of mod to be able to, like, unlock all of the additional stat rolls. Here, that's not the case. So you can buy that level 1 glyph, you just have to upgrade it, but it'll have the same access to, you know, everything that all the other glyphs have. I like that. That makes things simpler, makes things a lot simpler and more accessible, but I don't like that they're adding them to normal nodes. Normal and hard nodes. Especially if they're just, like, not anything else on that node, like character shards. We'll see how much they give from raids. This could be a significant source of glyphs, and I'm curious about that. I guess we'll see. Yeah, so this is a sample, so you just get one roll of glyph per hard node. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to do the math on this. There's a limit to how many glyphs a player can carry in their inventory at any given time. If you find yourself having an excess of glyphs or wanting to make space, you can sell your glyphs for gold. The higher the glyph level, the more gold you'll get for your glyph. However, spells will not be refunded when selling glyphs. This is interesting. So you have essentially a glyph inventory, but does that count the glyphs that are attached to characters? Usually not. We'll see if that's the case here. As a last note, in order to help players with managing their glyphs, here's some quality of life stuff. Players will be able to set favorite sets on a per character basis. Any favorite sets will appear at the top of the set list for that character. So we have to wait until it gets in a game, but I would like to see a very easy, accessible, and like good UI for managing the glyph system. And they showed some pictures here, but they didn't really talk about it in depth. I guess that is not really boring when doing a article about your new piece of progression content, but I am curious to how all of that looks because that is important to me and basically determines whether people are going to engage in your new progression system. Parting thoughts. We anticipate glyphs to arrive in the Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth in the coming month. Oh, so before the end of November. With all aspects of the game, we truly value your feedback and are excited to see how you make use of the exciting new feature. Okay, so initial thoughts right off the bat here. Still worried about speed. That's a big one for me. We'll have to see. They put in a line there that's confusing and different than what they said in the Reddit AMA, which is fine. All that's subject to change, but I'm curious how it turned out. Another big thing, I want to see what is the kind of, how are you getting glyphs? Is it mostly from hard and normal campaign energy stuff? Or are you going to get a good chunk of them from raids where you don't have to deviate from character shard farming for a while or gear farming to be able to get a good amount of glyphs? Things I am happy about, there's not a difference in level of rarity, it seems like, right? Like I mentioned just earlier with Swigo mods. It seems, visually, it seems pretty good. I'm glad that they went with just the percent health, or the percent base stat increases for the secondary roles. And I like, yeah, tying it to gear tier is interesting. I think it's necessary. Gear tier 10 being the max, though, is pretty intense, I would say. Looks like you only need one gear tier 10 character. And then, of course, I think one of the big sticking points here, the details, the devil is really in the details here. How much gold does this cost? How much gold does it take? In terms of sets, I think there are some interesting ones. I am probably most excited about Raider, Shield Wall, Bloodlust. I think actually minor sets, Bloodlust looks like it's going to be my favorite. Last Stand, looks like it's going to be my favorite, and Withering is probably a close second there. So, excited for that. They look great. But yeah, the devil's in the details. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm part of a developer Q&A that is happening on Tuesday where me and some other people are going to go in, ask questions to the developers about specifics of the mechanics, about how glyphs are going to work. So if you have those questions, hop into my Discord. There's a link down below. Go into the forum post, read the rules there, and then post your questions, and we will try and get the most upvoted, essentially, questions to the developers and get your answers. It's coming by the end of the month. That's actually fairly soon. Wow. So they're going to release this, and then probably there's going to be a journey ahead, and we'll hear news of the next Legendary as well. So lots of things happening as we wrap up the year here. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.